Hello, this is Hannah with Hannah Crafted Gifts, and I'm here today to show you what I have made for May 2023's Exploring in Colored Paper Pumpkin Kit. So these are my alternative projects. First of all, some just very simple cards. I try as much as possible to use just what comes in the kit, because when I do my paper pumpkin parties, I have people who are long time Stampin' Up! Or Paper Pumpkin crafters, but then also some brand new people, because paper pumpkin is a great way to get started. So they may not have the other supplies to create alternates, so I like to try to keep it simple for them. So when I saw these cards already on their own, I just thought they were so beautiful, the scenes they create. But I immediately thought that they could make a great ZFold card, because if you look this card from, the folded just front, it looks like a pretty continuous scene. But then when you open it up, you see the full scene. So what I did to make this work was just place my labels strategically. So right here, you would have seen that like the mountains all of a sudden came to an end and kind of got cut off on the ZFold that I created here. Because you can see they stopped there and turned into trees. So I just made sure my label covered that up without covering up any of my bison. So all I did was take the card, and instead of folding it this way, like you normally would to have a front and back, I folded it in on itself so that the white was showing, and then just folded back that front flap exactly in half so that this edge lined up, and it creates this Z-fold. It's also then a great display card to be able to show that full scene. So that's the first version of that with its coordinating envelope. I love that this kit came with not just 3 different card designs, but 3 different envelope designs to go with them. Here's the second one. This one, you might say like, oh, like the path is, kind of getting cut off here by the green grass, but it was close enough, and like the bush maybe gets a little cut off, but I thought the main thing again was to not have the mountains just like cut off, so I had my label up here. Also didn't want to block all these, details down here, so I was keeping that in mind as well. And I use each of the sentiments on these. So the first one said, life is meant for good friends and great adventures. This one says, it doesn't matter where you're going, it's who you have beside you, which that could be like one of my life mottos. I really, really believe that. So that's that second one with the coordinating envelope. I'll have pictures of these all up on my blog as well. If you're seeing this from YouTube, you can link to my blog, or if you're seeing this on my blog, you can link to YouTube. And then here's the last one. So this worked out pretty well. Like these mountains almost line up. And I wanted to have the sentiment down here, even though I could have put it there to block that incongruence, because the one half of the canoe was showing here. And again, it also just fills up kind of this empty space down here at the bottom then in the water, where you have so much else going on up here, the mountains in the sky. So this one says, cheers to an adventure, or cheers to adventure. And all of these, I just added the linen thread bow behind the sentiment. And that's it. Here's the coordinating envelope with that one. So very, very quick, easy, simple alternatives for this kit. And I didn't add the compass and binoculars on there, but you could certainly do that. Then I took the die cut sheets, so not this one, but the ones like this, the labels popped out of. Here's what's left over. And I cut parts of those off. I've been doing this a lot lately to create a window. So here I've got a picture window. This is 2 pieces. Actually, if you look closely, you can maybe see the seam. It's hard to see, which is good with the white, but there's a seam right there because this was off of one sheet and then this was off of another sheet. And so I just layered them over so that, it would line up such that these scallop edges would make sense. And it would be the perfect size for a Memories and More card size, which I'm realizing I don't remember off the top of my head. It looks like it's 6 1/4 by 4 1/4. So if you have the Memories and More cards and envelopes, one of those envelopes would work for this card. It's still mailable, and it's just basic white cardstock that I mounted part of a card base on. And I made sure that the seam on the card is hidden behind this window pane so that you're not seeing that score line, although it would be very faint if you did. And it's up on dimensionals, but it's just white on white. You could have done, a different color, so it's almost like you have, a painted wall and then your white window frame. But I just liked the white on white, keeping it simple. And then with that card base that creates that scene in the window, I still had some pieces left. I actually still have some scrap pieces left. Here's the bottom. But I had a nice piece along the side. I think it was this side here because it has a mountain on it. So I decided to turn that into a bookmark. So I used what I do think is a retired tag topper punch, but I think we should have a current version of that. And this one has Life is Meant for Good Friends and Great Adventures again, but instead of just using the copper clay ink spot that came in the kit, I used my Stampin' Write markers with the new in colors. And that way I was able to color the boho blue on part of the stamp and the moody mauve on the other part of the stamp, and then stamp all at once and get 2 colors on there. I had this banner sticking out, so that way when you slide this into a book, it'll catch on the top of the book and it'll stay sticking out. And I also added the compass onto my linen thread here. And so that can be kind of a hanging piece out of the book, which is kind of fun, I think. So yeah, just a little bookmark or maybe journal marker for your travel journal. And speaking of that, the pièce de résistance, I think I'm using that phrase properly. Probably not pronouncing it properly, but I created a little envelope mini album because this kit just seemed so appropriate for that. My family was just traveling out west. I was not with them, unfortunately, but I actually got to live out west for a time in places that these card bases really reminded me of. So I created this little album I'll show you. It says Cheers to Another Adventure on the front. So that reminds me, you would have noticed maybe on this card that I did some rearranging of that stamp. So I just did the Cheers to, left off the another, and then added adventure after it instead of stamping it under it. So I did some like masking to block the different parts of the stamp so that I could make it in the configuration that I wanted it to be. But I've got the linen thread wrapped around this, so I'll open that up. I have it trapped under dimensionals on my sentiment so that the thread won't, get lost. And again, I have a compass on there. On the back, just real quick to show you, I have a pair of binoculars. That's up on dimensionals so that the linen thread can slide under there when I close it up. That just keeps it closed when I'm not looking through it. So this one you have to kind of flip back and forth. And I do have a separate video, again, on my blog if you didn't find this through my blog. Just a quick tutorial on how to make these. It's so easy. You just need one more envelope than you use cards, and you can make it as big or small as you want. I use 3 cards, so I use 4 envelopes. So when you open it up, you have to, again, do some flip-flopping. Like first you're in landscape orientation, then you're in portrait orientation. That's just the way the cards are. But I mentioned in the tutorial that the add-on, which is in the mail for me, just hasn't come yet, would be great for this because those are all in landscape orientation rather. So here's, first of all, a picture of my husband and I in the Grand Canyon. And you can see I do have some of the little embellishment pieces in here. I don't have them up on dimensionals just to keep the album a little thinner. But then you can open up this card and you can actually slide it out. And the one thing I added not from the kit, again, was just some basic white cardstock. I wouldn't have needed to do that. I could have written, I used the Stampin' Write markers, and I could have written right on the envelope, but I was worried I would mess it up, and I did. I had to rewrite this a couple times, so it was good that I added just this piece of, I think it's 3x5 cardstock there. It just has the dates of the trip that my husband and I took out to the Southwest. We went to Arches, Canyonlands, Grand Canyon, and Mesa Verde National Park, so that's what you see inside the card here. We've got, again, we're doing some flip-flopping, but we've got Arches, Canyonlands, Grand Canyon on the top there, and then Mesa Verde on the bottom. So I decided to make this album just of all the national parks we visited while we lived out west. Actually, not all of them, I guess, the ones that we stayed at, because we did some drive-throughs on some of these trips as well. There's so much to see out there. So I'm just sliding that card back in. If I flip the page, here's the next one. So this is us in Glacier National Park. You're probably not so interested about where these random people have been unless you know me. And if you know me, you probably already know about this. But just showing you how this album works. So this was the Northwest. If you are interested, we went to Glacier, Yellowstone, and Grand Teton National Parks. That's what you see here in that order. There's Old Faithful. And so I can slide that back in. And you can see, the beautiful flap of the envelope shows when you pull these out. And, you could stick more things into these pockets, the envelope pockets that are created. You could have, receipts or tickets or, other kind of scraps from your trip. And then lastly, this is us, because we lived in Colorado when we went on these adventures. So this is us in Rocky Mountain National Park. So our time just in Colorado at that park, and then also Great Sand Dunes National Park, which if you've never heard of that, check this out. It's not a good picture. It's really far away. But those are sand dunes like, I imagine you would see in like the deserts in Egypt with the mountains behind them. And just, it looks like such an otherworldly thing. Like, what are these sand dunes, these giant sand dunes doing there? So anyway, so it was fun to create this little album and reminisce about that. And again, then you just have it close over with the envelope on the back and you can tie it back up. So again, check out my blog if you want to see up close pictures of these or the tutorial on how to put together your own little mini album, whether it's about your outdoor adventures or anything else. Again, this kit was great for that with that outdoors theme, but I still have my stickers that I have to use. And, you know, some other stamps that I didn't use from the kit, the image stamps. And so, you know, more to play with. Again, I'm getting the add-ons, so I may post more soon if you want to keep following along for more alternates. I love working with paper pumpkins and their add-ons, so I'm always trying to do what I can with those. But thank you for watching this. If you did, if you liked it, please click like. If you have a comment, please do comment and I'll reply. And then the most helpful thing you can do is subscribe and share this with others who you think may be interested. But whatever you choose to do or not, as I always say, truly thank you for your support, and I wish you happy crafting.